The chamber doors of the Zyric Imperial Hall opened with a thunderous echo, shaking dust from the crystalline ceiling. 2 armored guards pushed me forward, their talons clicking against marble that glowed softly beneath my boots. I, Evan Cole, an ordinary engineer from Earth's diplomatic fleet, was being dragged before the most feared figure in the outer spiral, Queen Zalara of the Zyric Dominion. The Zyric were known for their rigid strength, their towering frames, their ability to crush a steel bar between their palms. But what they were known for more than anything was their absolute intolerance for defiance. Humans bowed when brought before her. They trembled. They kept their eyes down. I didn't. Not because I was brave, not because I was stupid, but because I was tired. Tired of being told humanity was the weakest species. Tired of being treated like an insect in front of species that thought they were gods. Tired of the Zyric capturing our people for interrogation. So when the guard shoved me to the floor, I pushed myself back up immediately. The hall gasped. The guard stiffened. Even the Queen's 4 golden eyes opened wider. In that moment, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. "You do not bow?" Queen Zalara asked, her voice deep and resonant, echoing like a storm trapped in a canyon. I lifted my chin. "No." The hall froze again. One of the generals whispered, "Is he suicidal?" Another hissed, "Humans have no sense of survival." But the Queen raised a hand, silencing them. She stood from her throne, her 8-foot frame towering, elegant, deadly. Her armor shimmered like molten sunlight, her skin a deep cerulean marked by silver bands of status and lineage. She crossed the hall slowly. Her presence alone made the air heavier. When she finally stopped in front of me, her shadow covered my entire body. Her voice lowered to a dangerous whisper. "Tell me, human, why do you fear nothing?" I swallowed, but I didn't step back. "Because fear's a choice," I answered. "And I've chosen to stop giving you the satisfaction." A ripple of shock passed through her gathered court. The Queen stared at me for a long, silent moment, longer than any Zyric ruler had ever looked at a human with anything other than disdain. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. A soft, amused, genuine laugh. Something no one had ever reported hearing from her. Middle, the human who defied a throne. "Evan Cole," she said, rolling the human name around like a strange flavor. "You are interesting." "I hear that a lot," I said dryly. More gasps. A few warriors grabbed their weapons, assuming I had insulted her. But Zalara lifted a hand again. "Leave us." The hall emptied instantly. Only 2 of her most elite guards remained. And me. When the doors sealed shut, the Queen walked slowly around me, studying every movement, every twitch of muscle, every blink. "You entered my territory alone," she said. "Your ship violated our borders." "My ship crashed," I corrected. "I was trying not to die. Yet you live." "I tend to do that." Her eyes narrowed, amusement glimmering in the gold. "You are reckless. You're observant." She stopped behind me. I didn't turn. A lesser human would have shivered with fear. A Zyric would have been crushed by the weight of her authority. But I simply waited. "What is your purpose, human?" she asked. "Survival." "Incorrect. You could have survived by kneeling, by begging." She paused. "Yet you chose dignity." I turned to face her fully. "My people may be small. We may be weaker than you. But we never stopped moving forward. We never stopped fighting back against impossible odds. That's survival too." Her expression shifted, barely, but noticeably. Intrigue. Respect. Something else she'd never show in public. "Do you know why your species frustrates the Dominion?" she asked. "We're annoying?" I guessed. She smiled again.
Yes.
But also because you adapt. When cornered, you evolve. For a moment, a thick silence grew between us, heavy with meaning. Then she stepped closer, voice deepening. But you do not adapt. You defy. She tilted her head. You stand as though you hold power equal to mine. Well, I said, power isn't always about strength. Oh, she murmured. What is it about? Choice. A slow exhale escaped her lips, almost a sigh. For a Zyric, that was equivalent to a gasp of disbelief. You speak boldly, human, too boldly. She leaned down, her 4 eyes boring into mine. Do you not understand that I could kill you with a thought? You haven't, I replied softly. That stopped her. Completely. She straightened, studying me again, this time with a strange uncertainty. Why not? She demanded, almost to herself. Why do I hesitate? The world shifts. The queen reveals the truth. The queen suddenly waved off her guards. They looked horrified, but obeyed. When they left, she spoke quietly, a rarity. My people believe fear is weakness. They were raised to crush it, bury it, kill anything that inspires it. She looked down at her claws. But when you stood before me unafraid, something changed. Her voice softened. For the first time in my reign, I felt fear. That surprised me. What could the strongest ruler in the sector fear? I asked. You, she whispered. I blinked. Me?
Yes.
Because you are not stronger than me. Not faster. Not superior. Her voice trembled ever so slightly. And yet, I could not make you bend. She stepped closer again. If a single human can stand against an empire without fear, what happens when your species grows stronger? I shrugged lightly. Maybe instead of being afraid of us, you could try being allies. She froze again. As equals, she whispered, stunned. As equals. Her eyes widened, her breath catching as if she had never imagined such a thing. Then her voice grew softer still. And what would you ask in return for such an alliance? I met her gaze, without hesitation. For you to see us. Truly see us. Not as prey. Not as threats. But as people. Another silence. One that carried weight powerful enough to reshape the future of 2 species. Ending, fearlessness changes a galaxy. The queen turned away, walking back toward her throne, slow, thoughtful. She touched the carved armrest, tracing ancient symbols of war and conquest. Then she looked back at me. Evan Cole. Her voice no longer sounded like a ruler's command. It sounded like a woman choosing a path no one expected. Approach. I did. She extended a hand. For the first time in Zyric history, I offer a human my respect. I took her hand. Her court gasped when the doors opened and they saw it, but she didn't let go. Instead, she lifted our joined hands high. This human stands without fear, she declared. And I, your queen, hesitated before him. The warriors murmured in disbelief. Zalara raised her voice louder. Let the Dominion witness what I have learned today. Fear is not weakness. Fearlessness is power. And this human carries it with honor. She turned to me, her eyes shining with something far softer than any Zyric emotion ever recorded. From this day on, she said, the Dominion will treat humanity not as inferiors, but as equals. A roar of shock filled the hall. But she wasn't finished. And let it be known, she added, her gaze never leaving mine, that I, Queen Zalara, have chosen this human as my advisor, my shield, and my voice in all matters of the Dominion. My breath caught. That's a big responsibility. You stood before me without fear, she said. Now stand beside me. For for the galaxy to see. And as the hall erupted, as warriors bowed for the first time in their history,